Marlon Guess sold work boots for 26 years out of a strip mall store in Elyria, Ohio, and he told me the same thing every single customer who walked in believing the buy-it-for-life boot didn't exist anymore. He'd watch a man in his 40s pick up a $70 pair, turn it over, check the sole, and put it back down convinced that quality just doesn't get made like it used to. Marlon would let him leave with that pair almost every time, because telling him the truth took 20 minutes, and the store didn't pay him by the conversation. Here is the truth he eventually told me, sitting behind that same counter 3 months after he retired. The difference between a $70 boot that's garbage in 8 months and a $70 boot that's still working in 6 years has almost nothing to do with price. It has to do with 4 things nobody explains to you at the register: how the sole is attached, what the leather was actually treated with, how you break it in during the first 2 weeks, and what you do to it every single Sunday night for the rest of its life. Get those 4 things right, and a pair of boots that costs what you'd spend on 1 premium pair will flat out outlast 10 pairs of the disposable kind. Get them wrong, and it doesn't matter what you paid. You're buying a new pair by next winter. I want to show you exactly what those 4 things are. Not brand recommendations. Not a sales pitch. The actual mechanical and chemical reasons one boot dies and another one doesn't, and the 15-minute weekly habit that a shrinking number of tradesmen still practice, a habit their fathers were taught by men who apprenticed as cordwainers before rubber-soled boots even existed. Music. Let's start with the part of the boot you're not looking at when you buy it, because it's the single biggest predictor of how long that boot survives, how the sole is attached to the upper. Most boots sold today, including a lot of the ones marketed as work boots at hardware chains, use what's called cement construction. The sole is glued on. It's fast to manufacture, it's cheap, and it works fine for about 8 to 14 months of real work use. Then the adhesive breaks down from heat, flexing, and moisture, and the sole starts to separate at the toe first. You've felt this. That little flap that opens up right where your foot bends. Once that starts, the boot is functionally done, because water gets into that gap every time you step in a puddle, and there is no repairing a cemented sole. You throw the boot away and buy another one. That's the entire business model. There's an older method called Goodyear Welt construction, patented by Charles Goodyear, Jr. Not the tire Goodyear, his father's company, a different line entirely, in 1869. Instead of gluing the sole directly to the upper, a strip of leather called a welt is stitched to both the upper and an insole, and then the outsole is stitched to that welt. Nothing is glued in the load-bearing structure. It's sewn, the same way a seam in heavy canvas is sewn, and stitched leather doesn't fail the way adhesive fails. It fails slowly, thread by thread, over years, not months. And here is the detail that actually matters to your wallet. A welted boot can be resoled. When the outsole finally wears through, and it will eventually, that part is a wear item, a cobbler pulls the stitching, replaces just the outsole, and restitches it to the same welt. Upper, the part that molded to your foot, the part that's actually comfortable, never gets thrown away. Marlon had customers bringing in the same pair of boots for their 3rd resole. 14 years on one upper. That is not folk wisdom. That is a documented, patented construction method that most manufacturers quietly stopped using in mainstream retail because a boot that lasts 14 years doesn't sell you a second boot. Now, I know what some of you are already thinking, because I've heard it from people at the counter too. Goodyear, but I'm not telling you every retailer is sitting in a room deciding to make you buy disposable boots out of malice. Cement construction genuinely is faster and cheaper to manufacture, and for someone who needs boots twice a year for light yard work, it's a completely reasonable choice. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a manufacturing decision that makes sense for the company and stops making sense for you the moment you're on your feet, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for years. The math only breaks in your favor if you're actually a heavy user, which, if you clicked on this video, you probably are. So the real number to compare isn't $70 versus $250. It's $70 spent every 10 months for 5 years. That's $420, and 5 separate pairs of boots breaking in from scratch, against $250 spent once, resoled twice at roughly $80 a resole over that same 5 years, landing at $410 for one boot that never stopped fitting your foot properly. Same money. One pair of feet that adjusted once instead of 5 times. Music. The second piece is leather treatment. And this is where the old-timer knowledge actually lives, because this part costs almost nothing and nobody does it. Full-grain leather, the good stuff, the stuff on a properly built boot, is still a living material in the sense that it needs oil and it needs to stay flexible or it cracks. Dry leather doesn't fail all at once. It fails at the flex points first, right across the top of the foot where the boot bends every single step, because that's where the fibers are working the hardest and where dryness turns flexible, collagen fibers brittle. Once you see a white crease line forming across the vamp of a boot, that's not cosmetic. That's the leather structurally failing at that line, and eventually it splits straight through. I talked to a retired leather worker named Douglas Fentress, who ran a small saddle and harness repair shop outside of Staunton, Virginia for 38 years before he closed it in 2011. He didn't sell boots. He fixed tack, saddles, harness straps, leather goods that had to survive being wet, dry, wet again, under real load, for decades, because a farmer wasn't buying a new saddle every year. And he told me the same conditioning routine his own father used on cavalry-issue leather gear was the exact same routine that kept work boots alive 3 times longer than a store-bought conditioner claimed to. The mixture is simple: neat's foot oil, beeswax, and a small amount of lanolin warmed together until they blend into a paste. Neat's foot oil penetrates the leather fibers and restores flexibility from the inside. Beeswax sits on the surface and blocks water intrusion without sealing the leather so tight that it can't breathe. Lanolin, the same substance sheep produce to keep their own wool water-resistant, adds a layer of water repellency that doesn't dry out and go brittle the way petroleum-based products eventually do. This blend, or something close to it, is what cavalry units used on saddle leather and boot leather going back into the 1800s, because a soldier's boots failing wasn't an inconvenience, it was a casualty risk. The military had every reason to figure out what actually worked, and none to sell you a new pair every season. You apply it warm, work it in with your fingers in small circular motions, focusing on the flex points across the vamp and around the ankle. Let it sit for 15 minutes, then buff off the excess with a dry cloth. Once a week if you're working outdoors daily. Once every 2 to 3 weeks for lighter use. That's the entire habit. 15 minutes, one evening a week, and it is the single largest reason Douglas's customers were still wearing 20-year-old boots when everyone else's third pair had already cracked through. I want to be direct about the limits here because overselling this doesn't help you. This conditioning routine does not fix a sole that's already separating, and it does not repair leather that's already split. It's prevention, not resurrection. But it will not undo what's already torn. Start this habit on a new pair, or on a pair that's still structurally sound, and you're extending its life by years. Start it after the damage is done, and you're just managing a boot that's already on its way out. Music. The third piece is break-in, and this is the part almost everyone gets backwards, because they either force a boot too hard in the first week, or they never do anything intentional at all. New leather, especially the thicker leather used in real work boots, is stiff because the fibers haven't been worked yet. If you wear a new pair for a full 10-hour shift on day 1, 2 things happen. First, you get blisters because the boot hasn't molded to your foot's specific pressure points. Second, and this is the part that actually shortens the boot's working life, the leather flexes unevenly in places it isn't ready to flex, and that uneven stress is exactly what creates premature cracking at the vamp, the same failure point we just talked about. The correct break-in period is roughly 10 to 14 days of graduated wear. 2 hours the first day, around the house or on light errands. 4 hours the second day. By day 5 or 6, you're doing a full light shift. By day 10, you should be at full heavy use. During this window, the leather fibers are gradually stretching and reorganizing around your specific foot shape, and the flex points are developing their eventual crease pattern slowly and evenly instead of all at once under full load. A boot broken in this way develops flex lines that match your natural gait, and cracking along a natural, gradual crease line takes years longer to progress into a structural failure than cracking that was forced in under heavy stress from day one. Music. If you've made it this far, you already know more about why boots actually fail than most people who've bought boots their whole lives. That's not an exaggeration. I've had cobblers tell me most customers don't know the difference between a welted sole and a cemented one, and that single piece of knowledge alone changes which boot you'd choose off the shelf. But before I give you the fourth piece, the actual weekly maintenance schedule that ties all three of these together into a system, I need to tell you about a mistake almost everyone makes that undoes everything we just covered. Music. Storage. Where your boots sit for the 16 hours a day you're not wearing them matters almost as much as the conditioning itself, and it costs nothing to fix. Wet boots left to dry near a heat source, a furnace vent, a radiator, a car heater vent in the winter, dry too fast. Rapid drying pulls moisture out of the leather fibers faster than the oils can redistribute, and that's what causes leather to go stiff and brittle even on a well-conditioned boot. The leather essentially overdries, and the fibers lock in a contracted, brittle state. This is one of the most common ways an otherwise well-maintained boot gets destroyed in a single winter, and almost nobody connects the crack that shows up in February to the radiator they set their boots on in November. The fix is boring, and it's free. Dry boots at room temperature, away from direct heat, stuffed loosely with newspaper to help wick internal moisture without forcing it out too fast. 12 to 18 hours for a boot that's genuinely soaked through. Never a heater. Never direct sun either, for the same reason. UV and heat both accelerate moisture loss past the point the leather fibers can handle gracefully. Music. One more thing before the weekly system, because none of this matters if you can't actually identify a welted boot on the shelf, and most stores don't label it clearly. Flip the boot over and look at the edge where the sole meets the upper, right where they join. On a welted boot, you'll see a visible ridge of stitching running around the entire perimeter of the sole. A continuous line of thread you can see and feel with your fingernail. On a cemented boot, actually hold anything together. Press your thumb into that seam. Real stitching has a slight give and texture. Fake decorative stitching is molded into a rigid piece and won't move independently from the sole. Second check. Bend the boot in half, toe toward heel, the way your foot would flex it walking. A welted boot resists that bend more at the shank, the reinforced middle section under your arch, and flexes cleanly at the ball of the foot where it's supposed to. A cheaply cemented boot with no shank will fold almost anywhere along its length like a piece of cardboard, which tells you there's nothing structural holding that midsole together beyond the glue itself. Third, check the weight. This surprises people, but a genuinely welted leather boot with a real shank and a stitched sole is measurably heavier in your hand than a cemented boot of the same size, because it's carrying actual layers of leather and stitched construction instead of a single molded unit. Light as a sneaker is a red flag on anything marketed as a work boot. None of these checks require asking a salesperson anything, which matters, because Marlon told me plenty of the younger staff at his old store genuinely didn't know the difference themselves. They were selling what was on the shelf, not hiding information. They just were never trained on construction, only on inventory. That's worth remembering before you assume every retail employee is in on some scheme. Most of them just don't know either. Music. So here's the complete weekly system, the one Douglas ran for almost 4 decades, and the one Marlon eventually started recommending to any customer who'd actually listen, instead of grabbing the cheapest pair on the rack. Every evening after wear, wipe the boots down with a dry cloth to remove surface dirt before it grinds into the leather. Once a week, apply the neat's foot oil, beeswax, and lanolin conditioning blend to the entire upper, focusing on the flex points. Let it absorb for 15 minutes, buff the excess. Check the welt stitching monthly for any loose or frayed threads. Catching a single loose stitch and having a cobbler restitch that section costs under $20 and prevents a full welt failure that would cost far more. And when the outsole finally wears past a 1/4 inch of tread remaining, that's your resoled trigger, not a signal to buy new boots, a signal to spend roughly $70 to $90 getting the outsole replaced on the welt that's already broken in perfectly to your foot. That's the entire system. No boot manufacturer is going to hand you this list because every part of it is designed to make one purchase last longer instead of making you buy again. Music. I want to be honest about what this doesn't do. This will not turn a $40 cement-constructed boot into a boot that resoles. If the construction isn't welted, there is no welt to re-stitch, and conditioning alone, while still worthwhile for comfort and some added lifespan, has a ceiling. If you're buying boots this cheap out of genuine financial necessity, the conditioning and break-in steps still help. You'll likely add several months of life to any boot. But you won't get the resoling option that's the real long-term multiplier. That option requires starting with a welted boot in the first place. I'd rather tell you that plainly than let you think this routine is magic that works on anything. What this system actually gets you, if you start with the right construction, is a pair of boots that 10 years from now still fits your foot exactly the way it does today, that's been resold twice for less than the cost of 2 new pairs, and that never put you through another 2-week break-in period after the first one. That's not a hack. That's just what boots used to be, before the business model shifted toward replacement instead of repair. If this is useful to you, tell me what boots you're currently wearing, how many months you've gotten out of your last pair, and what a razzle would cost